So the Ten Hag player exodus has begun at Manchester United. Paul Pogba is out. Jesse Lingard is out. Juan Mata and Nemanja Matic are out as well. Let's look at exactly what is going on at Manchester United, why so many players are leaving, and what this could mean for Manchester United going forward. Hello and welcome to Stretford Paddock. My name is Joe. This is Alex. We are going to be looking through some of the disgraceful mistakes Manchester United have made over the last 6 or 7 years in terms of player contracts and exactly why Manchester United have got so many people leaving all of a sudden and why it's taken them so long to go and why they're all leaving on a free.
Yeah, it's a crazy situation that we're in now where you've got the likes of Paul Pogba who... Obviously, that's been widely discussed of where he's leaving. This is twice now he's left on a free transfer from Manchester United. But then the likes of Juan Mata, Edison Cavani, Nemanja Matic, all these players that have been around for quite a while now at Manchester United that are now finally leaving. And there's also some players that still have 1 or 2 years left on a contract that we're going to go into. Yeah. And look at some of the ridiculous decisions that United have made over those last few years.
Well, we're going to go into all of that. And what we're going to do is we're going to go through player by player, looking at some of the players that have already left, some of the players that are expected to leave, and maybe some players that we would like to leave if their contract and their sort of financial situation wasn't the way it was. So let's start with Paul Pogba. £290,000 a week deal that he's currently coming to an end of. It's the same deal that he signed in 2016-17. Yeah. No upgrades, no extensions, no bonuses, none of that stuff. This has just been 1 year, one contract signed, 6 years played at the club with 5 with an optional 6th, and then he's gone. But there's more to it than that. Yeah. It's not just he's played his contract and he's gone. After the summer of 2020, when he'd been basically probably in his best form for United, coming back from lockdown, starring in those games alongside Matic and Bruno. He spoke to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, according to Laurie Whitwell, and asked him for a contract extension. This is, again, according to Laurie Whitwell. He says, Pogba sent Solskjaer text messages in the summer of 2020 asking for a new contract. Solskjaer replied that he was pressing the board, but ultimately all United did was trigger the extension in his existing deal that left Paul Pogba deflated. There was never a contract signed, which, a lot of people would be happy with, but it's weird that we eventually offered him a deal. I think it was 12 months after this, only for him to then go, you know what, you've messed me around, I'm going to leave. Maybe it's for the best overall, but it's not the best way to sort of deal with your best players, is it? He wants to stay, he's happy, and we don't offer him a new deal.
No, it's this situation we've got ourselves in, and we'll talk about David De Gea later on, where we got to this point where he had 1 or 2 years left on his deal. There was the question marks over whether we were fitting him in right, and Bruno had kind of taken over as the main man, and you obviously had Matic there who needed replacing, but the Paul Pogba question was there, and there was kind of 2 options that everyone kind of sought: was give him a new deal and say, look, you're part of the future of this football club for the next 5 or 6 years. This is you seeing out the rest of your playing time up until maybe you move on to go to America or something like that. Yeah. Or let's cash in and do I remember us covering this at the time, and it was the talk of, is this our Coutinho? Is this he doesn't quite fit what we want to do. Can we sell him for £100 million and buy 2 players that fit the mould? But we didn't. And then we're now in this position that we're in, where we've let his contract go down, and whether you like Paul Pogba, dislike Paul Pogba, wanted him to stay, wanted him to do whatever it is, for him to go on a free again is just bad management of his contract. Yeah. And something we've really missed out on.
It's just awful indecision by Man United. Like you said, either sell him and get some money for him or sign him on an extension. Yeah. Don't let him leave for free again, where we've got a player we have to replace and no transfer funds to do it with. Let's just keep going through because this is a recurring theme. Jesse Lingard, on a much more modest wage than Jesse Lingard. Again, he was considered one of United's few sort of saleable assets last summer when he had 1 year left on his deal. He just had an unprecedentedly brilliant sort of transfer loan to West Ham where he got, I think it was 9 goals and 6 assists or something ridiculous from January. Yeah. And then Solskjaer comes out in the summer and says, everyone saw what he did toward the end of the season at West Ham. He's still in my plans. He then went on to play under 10 games for Manchester United in the league this season. Now, that isn't someone that's in United's plans. And that isn't, again, it's the same thing. Either cash in or extend his contract. Why are we letting him go on a free when, he's clearly not in the manager's plans. Yep. He's clearly just had a brilliant transfer to West Ham. There's talks of him going to Newcastle. Those broke down because apparently Ole wanted to keep him. It just doesn't make sense, does it?
Yeah, the January situation was difficult with the other things going on in the club and why he needed to stay. But last summer was the point of, look, is he going to be in your plans? Is he going to be as either playing on the right-hand side? Is he going to be an alternate for Bruno? Wherever he is, make that decision. And I think we didn't make that decision again. And like you said, bad mismanagement. And again, I think that, look, your thoughts about Jesse Lingard and how he's spoken about things in the press, him sharing things about West Ham and all this kind of stuff, take that to one side. The contract situation he got dealt with, it should never have got to the stage where he had to be saying, I want to go and play at this football club. It should have been, right, decision's made, you're going, there's the money, done. Yeah. Or play the lad. Because, again, we've let someone's contract run down. And the other reason we couldn't sell him for the price we wanted in January, because he hadn't played enough games. No. So
we could have probably got 15 or 20 million quid for him in the summer, which would have gone, and when I said under 10 games, that was under 10 starts in the Premier League. We could have got 15, 20 million for him, and then put that or saved that for this summer. Yeah. Again, we're just wasting wages, wasting money. Let me just run through a couple of these. Juan Mata, given a 1-year contract extension at the start of this year at the age of 33, when he'd only played 9 Premier League appearances the season before. Juan Mata's got 1 Premier League goal in the last 3 years. And I love Juan Mata. Everyone loves Juan Mata. But from a footballing or business perspective, what benefit is there to giving him an extra year this summer? It doesn't make any sense. Matic, another one, signed a 3-year extension in 2020, a month before his 32nd birthday, and he's been a bit part player ever since. He's leaving on a free this summer after the club's elected to not activate that 3rd optional year. Yeah. But why were we signing a 32-year-old essentially on a 3-year deal when he wasn't even first choice then?
Now, this is something, I think you've got the quote there, that from an Athletic article around when Matt Judge was or said he was leaving or resigning. Yeah. And this is the discussion that I think Stephen House has brought up in the past, saying that this way of us keeping players on wasn't just a decision of the managers, or wasn't a decision in terms of, we'll be able to sign them a contract and then sell them a year later. Yeah. This was something that the old board and things like that had come up with in order to protect it and go on a spreadsheet. And I think you've got
so this is the quote here from, like I said, it was from The Athletic. It says, it was Woodward and Judge who together formulated the idea to extend player contracts as a way of maintaining asset value, be that on a spreadsheet or in the marketplace. Critics maintain it was a grossly mistaken strategy that only served to emphasise the disconnect at the club between the finance and football, with several United players earning top salaries whilst having a modest prospect of featuring. We'll get onto some of those top salaries in a minute and the amount of money that certain United players have been earning. And again, this isn't their fault. No. A lot of, if you're a footballer or a human being and you're going into a contract negotiation, you're going to try and get as much money as you possibly can. I'm not trying to have a go at the players here. This is the board, the owners, Woodward, Judge. This is their mistake, not, Phil Jones for accepting a contract. Why wouldn't he? But this thing of, let's sign him to a new deal, therefore they are worth the value of their contract plus whatever we could get from the market, it takes away every footballing aspect of why players are worth money. Yeah, you're more likely to get 6 million quid for Mata with 1 year left on his deal than you are 20 million quid with 3 years left on his deal, because he's just not worth 20 million quid. No. So the idea that you're worth your contract plus your transfer value is only maybe viable on a spreadsheet, because it certainly isn't real life in terms of what transfers are.
No, it's not. Also, I think you can look at this, and this happens in smaller clubs. For example, Harry Maguire signed a contract the year we wanted him for 50 million. He then signed a contract with Leicester. We then signed for 80. Now, this is a different scenario than signing a player who's 30 plus to a 2 or 3 year deal. If someone's in the peak of their career or early in their career at a smaller club like Leicester, where you don't really increase their wages by too much, and you don't take them into the ridiculous wages you'll go through in a second, this is quite a good deal, Put this 3 year contract on. So now that the clubs have to come in and go, look, it's going to be 50, 60, 70, 80 million and not the 20, 30 it could be before.
But that doesn't work with 32-year-olds.
It doesn't work with Juan Mata.
There's a reason why Ferguson, as we mentioned tons on this channel, basically the rule was if you're over 30, you get a 1 year extension every year. Yeah. Not a 3 year extension just before your 32nd birthday for a player that, isn't a guaranteed starter. Yeah. Phil Jones signed a 4 year contract extension in February 2019, and he's made 6 Premier League appearances in the 3 years since. Yeah, that is just a bad business move.
Again, this was straight after Ole Gunnar Solskjaer came in. Phil Jones was, again, people forget that he was the mainstay in that defence for a lot of that time, up until I think the Liverpool game. He played every game, and we didn't lose that any game when Ole first came in. But then we gave him a brand new contract with, again, 4 or 5 year contract of not ridiculous money, but not great money. No. And like you said, he'd only played, I think I looked before, he'd played 18 games the season previous, 18 before that, I think 25 the season before that. Yeah. They aren't good signs. And look, Phil Jones, again, we've talked about this. This isn't a video where we're going to bash players of quality and things like that. This is more the fact of, did you see Phil Jones ever getting back to playing 50 games a season fitness-wise? I don't think anyone did. I think you could see that he had something about him and could be maybe rotated or played at a lower level. But he was never going to play 50 games a season for Manchester United. And to sign up to a contract like this, where
4-year deal.
4-year deal. Well, you can't move him on.
No.
You cannot move him on. And now we're in the position, like we're mentioning here, maybe there's a change coming in. Maybe we've not triggered more contracts. We're not giving these extensions out. And hopefully this is us getting rid of the deadwood, getting rid of these players that the managers aren't too sure about, that have been there for a long time. Phil Jones won the Premier League in 2013.
I know.
He's now finally, hopefully, going to be moving on.
Well, let me get into... I'll just rattle through a few of these because, again, we can go into each one, but there's a trend appearing here. Eric Bailly signed a 3-year deal in February 2020, despite having an injury-riddled sort of 3 or 4 years up until that point at United. He was then rewarded a year later with a 4-year contract. Just weeks after his friend, according to Sky Sports, had told them that he'd frankly had enough at the club. We panicked last summer and gave him a 4-year deal. A year after giving him a 3-year deal, Wan-Bissaka. And again, he's one of the few where you look at it and go, he's on a roughly 90 grand a week, reported. Again, I'm not checking his bank for this, but which is a more modest sum. And no surprise, he's one of the few players that United consider a saleable asset this summer. Yeah. We might get 20 to 30 million quid for him, and there are teams lower down the league that could afford that and could afford 90 grand a week. He's one of the few that makes sense. But then you look at Martial, who I think it was 2018-19, had his wages almost tripled from about around 5 million quid a year to around 13 million quid a year for getting 12 goals and 3 assists. He's been given a 250 grand a week contract for 12 goals, 3 assists. That's not good business. And again, it's not his fault. Who wouldn't accept that? No. But this is just terrible management by Man United. Now he's had a failed loan at Sevilla. He's coming back into the club. Who's going to buy him? Can we get any money for him? Probably not, because whoever's buying him needs to either stomach his wages or convince him to take a massive pay cut.
The Martial one's strange. The Martial thing, there's always been this rumour going around that the Glazers love Anthony Martial. They saw him as the golden signing, this 50 million signing that no one else really saw. They got him in, and we put Ballon d'Or contracts in and all this kind of stuff. Yeah. Now, after that summer, I think that was just, again, he'd had that little flurry under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer where he'd played alongside Rashford, and you had Juan Mata Lingard on the other side, and it just kind of, it felt like that was going to be a front three, or that was the start of a front three that, was going to work for under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But then to jump on that, and like you said there, not just increase his wages by a bit, but almost triple his wages. It's scary money, and it's scary business. And it's put us in the situation that we're in now. And this isn't we can't sign players. It's the fact that, yes, we get given 120 million or whatever Ten Hag gets this summer, but we're relying on clubs to take a punt on these players to say, okay, yeah, we'll spend 250 grand a week. We're sending so many of these times, sending players out on loan, where we're paying half the wages still.
Yeah.
Again, Donny van der Beek I think we paid a good majority of those wages. You've got Martial, the Alexis Sanchez deal where we think we're paying 60% of his wages or something like that when he went to Inter Milan. Yeah, scary deals that we're doing that you meant to help us out, and they're really not.
No. Well, there's a few other sort of notable contract decisions, some that have left the club and some that are still here and not looking like they're going to leave. Alexis Sanchez is, as you mentioned, signed in January 2018, reported 350 grand a week before bonuses, reports of anywhere up to 500 grand a week, depending on what he did, which presumably didn't get many of them bonuses.
No, so.
But that was almost kind of the start of this. A lot of the wages and jumps in wages, huge jumps in wages, were in the 12 months following Alexis Sanchez signing for Manchester United. Yeah. A lot of these happened 2018-19, the same year he came in and blew that wage structure out of the boat. In 2017-18, at the start of the 2017-18 season, Luke Shaw was earning, reported again, this is Spot Rack and Transfer Market, a lot of different sources on this, he was earning more than the then two-time Golden Boot winner Harry Kane. Yeah. Luke Shaw was earning more than Harry Kane. 1 year later, Shaw's wages went up by a further 50%. These are just, this is madness. De Gea saw his wages almost doubled from 200 grand a week, which was one of the highest paid goalkeepers in the world, to just under 400 grand a week. And that was after two sort of lackluster seasons following the 2018 World Cup. He was then rewarded with, again, almost a doubling of his wages. some of these things, like this isn't one or two players. We've got nearly 10 players here, and not to mention some of the ones that have already left. Like this is just absolute carnage at Manchester United. And let's look forward a little bit. The CEO has changed. Ed Woodward has gone. The person who's in the room doing a lot of these negotiations, Matt Judge, is leaving. He's serving his notice currently. We've got John Murtaugh. We've got Richard Arnold, who I'm giving a clean slate. I know we've all spoken about that. They're, sort of innocent till proven guilty. Let's see what you can do. But this has to change, doesn't it? And hopefully, with the likes of Pogba, Lingard, Mata, Matic looking like Jones and Bailly may well leave as well, hopefully we are seeing the start of things being done differently. Let these contracts run out and let's move forward with a new plan, because this one isn't working and hasn't worked.
No, and again, there's nothing wrong with having your best players earn good amounts of money. I think that's the thing that Manchester United Football Club will always do, and the position we're in is we need to pay these players a lot of money for not just what they do on the field. There is the commercial aspect that has to be taken into it. And even Paul Pogba at 290 grand a week, you kind of go, do you know what? For the player he is, that was probably fit. That was probably not far off at that point. That was probably right. But what you needed to do was, make sure that's correct and it fits in with the structure. We're talking about, look at Mo Salah at this moment in time. The offer he's getting at Liverpool, I think it's something like 275 grand a week. They're saying that, look, this is what we can offer you. This is what makes you our top earner right now here. But we ain't doing any more than that.
We're not doing 500.
We're not doing 500 grand a week. And that's a structure you should be at. You talked back to Roy Keane back in the day where, Rio Ferdinand came in and was on more money. No, Roy Keane's our best player. He gets paid the most. Done. That's how it works. Doesn't matter how good that player coming in is. Roy Keane's our captain, best player. He's been here. He's won things all the way through. Therefore, his contract reflects everything. And we need to be in that position. Now, whoever is in charge of that, look, Cristiano Ronaldo is on, I think, $500,000 a week. You cannot doubt how much money that man brings in, and you cannot doubt what he does on the pitch. And also, the contract's 2 years.
Yeah.
So that's it done. It's £1 million. That's probably a ridiculous amount of money, but you kind of go, that makes sense. Underneath that, there needs to be a structure.
Yeah.
There needs to be something of, look, this is our top earner. This is as much as we will pay unless you are Cristiano Ronaldo.
Yeah, and you have to prove that you're worth that.
Yeah.
Alexis Sanchez came in, by far United's biggest earner, hadn't proved a thing.
No.
Just because he was his contract, his fee was zero, or it was a swap for Mkhitaryan. United then, or the United's board and Woodward saw that as a reason to basically put his transfer fee in his wages, which upsets everyone. Hopefully, we're starting to see a bit of a change under Ten Hag. But I just thought I'd take us through this exodus, what's going on at Manchester United, and why we've struggled to shift so many of these players. It's just been horrendous business management. Like, this is the one side of things where Woodward's business acumen should have come in handy.
Yeah.
This is, I know it's a football thing as well, but this is a business side of it. This is how much do people get paid, how much are assets worth, and why they're worth what they're worth. And there is just no understanding of that whatsoever over the last decade at Manchester United. Hopefully, we can see a change going forward. Get your thoughts in the comments on the players leaving Manchester United, who should still go from this squad, and is Ten Hag finally getting a grip on what has been, basically a checkbook merry-go-round for the last 10 years. Get your thoughts in the comments below. Hit subscribe if you haven't already, and we'll see you in a bit.